Thank you for the introduction. I think they can make the judgment themselves. So, I will keep it short. Basically, there are multiple points to make here. First of all, the empowerment of the last mile that they were talking about. The last mile in education is students, because entire education system is built for students. And I'm actually referring to your own budget highlights document downloaded from the budget.nic website. There are some 6 provisions altogether for higher education and primary education put together. I don't know, just withdrawing, does that really mean empowerment, or taking a strategically different approach, does that mean empowerment? So I don't understand doing away with responsibility is BJP's idea or the current government's idea of empowerment or something else. Because empowerment can be done. Let's talk about it a little bit more in concrete terms than just getting caught into this whole emotions. Empowerment can happen in 2 ways. Empowerment can happen by either infusing more money, which the government has not done, and must congratulate to them for that. But second is changing the approach of how you spend the money. So if you see in education, what you have done is you have increased the education budget by 1,367.5 crore rupees. At the same time, you have applied 7th pay commission. Entire money that is increased in primary education is going to pay these increased salaries of the teachers, whose numbers are with me here. Now, how do you plan to improve the quality of education when your entire money is going to go on paying the teachers' salaries, which has been a problem of education sector for the last many years? That 1 rupee allocated to education, 80 paise out of that goes to pay teachers' salaries, and remaining money goes on management expenses. 500 rupees per teacher per year is the amount that goes to the teacher to improve quality of education. When this government has not kept a single provision for actually improving the quality of education, I really don't know what kind of empowerment are they talking about through this budget. That is the first point. Second point is about 62 new Navodaya Vidyalayas. Navodaya Vidyalayas are some of the better performing government schools. That's true. Why 62? Because on 62 districts, Navodaya Vidyalaya were absent so far, so they are constructing 62 Navodaya Vidyalayas in the districts where there were no Navodaya Vidyalayas. I really don't see there is something fundamentally new in this approach. This is just basically filling in the gaps from the last time. See, the transformative means that it creates some sort of a transformation. It changes the existing system, or it changes the current scheme of things completely. Maintaining a status quo or not talking a word about certain things does not really mean transformation. You can't really, I don't know, there are that many examples in the world where transformation has happened by keeping silence. Because I was listening to Arun Jaitley's talk on budget. There was one passing reference for quality education, elementary education. Apart from that, there is absolutely no mention of elementary education in the entire budget. Talking about absolute numbers, 485 crores is what they have increased for Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. The problem with Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan has been that absolutely no focus on quality of education. So Mr. Jaitley said that he will actually focus on quality of education. Problem in education has been the way the money is spent. The money is spent on institution and not on students. There are dysfunctional government schools where there are 5 students and 20 teachers. Those institutions keep continuing and they keep running, and the government takes no action about it. If you are really serious about empowerment, and if you have taken the disinvestment path, then you have to talk about the accountability measures and per child funding in education. Your education should go, your money in education should go to the students and not to the schools, which are dysfunctional units and financially completely ineffective units at the moment in the current system. So you have not talked about per child funding, you have not talked about a different approach in investing in education. Somebody talked here about the private role in education. Yes, the maximum enrollments in the country are happening in low-cost private schools. The main problem the low-cost private schools in the country face today is that they are non-profit entity. They don't get any financial support either from the banks or from their own. And at the moment, this government has given absolutely no sort of scheme or program for the low-cost private schools of the country. I want to understand, how are you encouraging private engagement in the education? You talked about 6% GDP. Government allocation for budget, at the moment the GDP is about 3%, but at the same time 1.8% is actually household expenditure on education. Household expenditure on education is about 1.8%. So together it goes close to 6%, but what happens is your government is also continuing the same logic that the previous government followed about right to education, where they confuse building schools with school buildings and they focus on the input norms in education. There is absolutely no mention about how the government is going to regulate the education sector differently. Most of these things, if they don't come through the budget document, there is no way that these accountability measures are going to emerge out on their own. If the government has not talked about any of these accountability measures, then I think it's keeping silence and it's not about empowerment so much. There are so many points. I mean, he talked about madrasa education. There was a scheme that this same government started last year about integration of skill education with madrasa education. There is no money kept for that in this year's budget. Second point, they last point I just want to complete and in 15 seconds. The last point is, as all of us students will understand, that only those things can be improved which can be measured. Education quality can be measured through assessments. Last year they had kept 50 crores for education assessments. Then the revised budget was 20 crore rupees. Ultimately only 10 crores was spent on them. This year there is no budget or no mention about allocation for assessments. Without assessing, how do you plan to improve the quality of education is what I want to understand. And these are some of the questions I'm leaving with you for answering. And I look forward to hearing your answers.